found in Marco's clothes, written by you, and that Mrs. Constable was killed with a note in her hand asking for a rendezvous with you, I'm sure the grand jury would return an indictment against you for murder. I therefore consider it my duty to arrest you for the murders of Laura Constable and John Marco. And I think even you will admit that her guilt is obvious.
Too obvious.
What do you mean?
Well, if Miss Godfrey wanted to kill Mrs. Constable, she could have asked her to meet her on the cliff. She wouldn't need to write a note which she knew was bound to be evidence against her. As for this note here, as you say, anyone could have written it. Anyone except Miss Godfrey. Again, the stratagem is too obvious.
A lot of theories. We can't give theories to a jury. Why didn't she come to me with this note? Or even to you?
Because she's a woman, Sheriff.
Yeah. Get your things on, Miss Godfrey. I'm taking you to the station.
Wait a minute,
I'm
Sheriff.
not waiting for anything.
Oh, yes, you are. If you arrest this young woman, you'll be the laughingstock of Southern California within 24 hours.
Why?
Because within that time, I shall find the real murderer.
Oh. I suppose you mean the man with the black spots in front of his eyes.
Yes, the one with the black spots in front of his eyes. You're not a bad fellow, Sheriff. I hate to see you make a mistake. Give me until this time tomorrow morning to catch the murderer. If I fail, then arrest Miss Godfrey. 24 hours won't make any difference.
All right. I'll do it. But I don't think you've got a chance in the world.
Have you got a match, Sheriff?
Match? Someplace. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. I got to telephone the coroner. Remember now, 24 hours till tomorrow morning at 1:30.
I could have asked Mollett for this, but he'd be afraid I'd destroy Exhibit A in the case of the People versus Stella Godfrey.
You think you know who's guilty, Ellery?
I haven't the slightest idea. But I know who isn't.
Hello, Ned. Well, you can come out and pick up another one. It's getting so that the corpses around here are in the majority. Yeah. If this keeps up, we won't have a quorum for the inquest.
Well, does it tell you anything?
Only that the note was printed by a man, as I expected.
Well, you better dig up more than that to clear Miss Godfrey. She could have had a man to print that note. And considering the other evidence against her, well, I've seen juries convict people on a lot less.
Well, supposing we admit there is evidence against Miss Godfrey, what about the others?
Well, I don't know. Of course, when Marco was killed, I felt sure I'd pegged the murderer.
Whom did you suspect?
Mom.
Who shattered your theory by getting himself killed. Did you have any theory?
Well, to tell you the truth, I suspected Court. You seemed a little too anxious to get away last night.
You better be careful, Judge. All your suspects have come to a bad end.
Well, that's how it seems, yes.
What happened at the inquest?
Oh, the usual verdict. Murder by person or persons unknown.
You didn't say anything about Miss Godfrey?
Oh. The inquest on Mrs. Constable isn't until tomorrow. What do you think our morgue is? An auditorium? Say, what's the idea? That's Exhibit A in the case of...
Of the People versus Stella Godfrey. However, I found out that it was written by John Doe.
Ah. Did you find out anything about John Doe?
Well, I have a theory. It would explain everything if I could clear up just one point.
What point?
Why Marco was found with an opera cape around his shoulders.
There's a lot more to be found out than that. For instance, what happened to the rest of his clothes?
Well, I could explain that if I could explain the cape.
Hmm? And how about the heavy object the murderer used to hit him over the head? The coroner says there'd be blood on the thing, whatever it was.
Well, that was a rock. The killer threw it into the ocean.
Now, why didn't I think of that?
I want to check the movements on everyone the night that Marco was killed. Would you all sit down, please? Would you tell Tiller to come in, please?
Tiller? Oh, Tiller, if you must eavesdrop, don't stand in the line with the mirror in the hallway.
Hey, get Joram and the maids in here, please.
Yes, sir. Come on, Sheriff, give us a break, or my city editor will be sore.
If this dry spell keeps up, there'll be lots of dust on the ocean.
We're trying to check up on just where everyone was early Tuesday morning at the time Mr. Marco was killed.
Sure, and I was in my bed. But if you're wanting any witnesses to that fact, begorry, you're not going to be getting them.
How about you, Joram?
I was in bed, sir.
I was asleep, too.
Begging your pardon, but neither Joram nor Pitts is telling the truth.
How do you know?
On Tuesday morning, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my window smoking a cigarette and saw Joram and Pitts going toward the pavilion.
You mean they were together?
No, at different times.
How about it, Joram?
I refuse to discuss it, sir.
Do you realize that your reticence makes you a definite suspect?
Yes, sir.
Suppose you tell us the truth about your actions Tuesday morning, Miss Pitts. Oh, now, come. Nothing to cry about. Would you hand me that lighter on the table, please? How long were you married to Mr. Court?
We weren't married. We were going to be married. Oh,
I thought there was something between you two. Your crying spells didn't begin until after he was killed. Supposing you tell us everything.
well, you see, Mr. Court and I fell in love right after he came here. It wasn't wrong because he and Miss Stella never did intend to be married. We were planning to leave and be married as soon as he could get away.
Tell us about Tuesday morning.
Well, I couldn't sleep. I was worried about our elopement and what the Godfreys would think, and I decided to take a walk along the beach. Mr. Court had torn the lining of his opera cape and had asked me to mend it for him. Before I went for the walk on the beach, I slipped the cape about my shoulders.
Well, that was Court's cape. How did he get on Marco?
When I got down to the pavilion, I found Mr. Marco dead
Clothed or in bathing trunks?
in bathing trunks.
Why did you put the cape around his shoulders?
I heard someone coming down the steps, and I was afraid that if they found me there with the dead body, they'd think I killed him. I put the cape around his shoulders so that it looked from the back as if he were dressed. And I stood there talking to him.
Who came down the steps?
I don't know. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see a man's feet. Whoever it was stood there a minute and then went up. I waited another 10 or 15 minutes and then ran up into the house and went to my room.
I've got it. I know what the murderer did, but I don't know why. Miss Pitts, Mrs. Sheehan, and Tiller, you may go. And Tiller, no eavesdropping.
No, sir.
Joram, Miss Godfrey's freedom, maybe her life, depends upon you. I know you're trying to protect someone, but you've got to tell the truth about Tuesday morning.
Well, since you put it that way, sir, it was like this. Sometime after 12:30, I was taking a turn around the grounds to see that everything was all right. Then I decided to go down on the pavilion and have a smoke. So I went down there and I found Mr. Marco dead.
With his clothes on?
Yes, sir.
Now, what did you do then?
Well, I was so bored over, I must have stayed there for, perhaps 20 minutes trying to figure out...
Whether Mr. Godfrey killed Mr. Marco. You knew that the wire around the victim's neck was the same that Mr. Godfrey uses to support his plans. And you knew that Mr. Godfrey hated Mr. Marco.
Yes, sir. You see, I worked a long time for Mr. Godfrey.
Yes, I know. What made you go back to the pavilion the second time?
Because I got to thinking that it might be something that would incriminate Mr. Godfrey. But while I was thinking, I had a few fingers of scotch. And when I heard Pitts holding a conversation with the dead man, I decided I'd better call it a night.
Do you know anything about the tides around here, Joram?
Yes, a bit, sir.
Do you recall what time was high tide on Tuesday morning?
Well, as near as I can remember, sir, it was somewheres around 12:35 a.m.
Well, there's a high tide roughly every 12 hours, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Marco was killed right after high tide Tuesday morning. Munn right after high tide yesterday noon. And Mrs. Constable right after high tide last night. Interesting, eh, Molly?
It would be if the victims had been drowned.
Joram, how much would the tide ebb in the cove in 20 minutes?
Quite a bit, sir.
All right, Joram, you may go.
Thank you, sir.
Molly, I thought Miss Godfrey wasn't guilty. Now I know she wasn't, because I know who the murderer is.
Who?
I can't tell you yet. If any of you knew his identity, you might spoil my plan for catching him. And if we don't catch him, we can't prove his guilt. Oh, by the way, Sheriff, what's the telephone number of the local Coast Guard station?
Spanish Cape, 1849.
Thanks. Miss Godfrey, could I see you alone?
Of course.
Pardon us.
Say, wait a minute.
Yes?
I'd like to know what the murderer did with Marco's clothes.
Well, he wore them.
He wore them? Why?
Because he needed them.
That guy's either crazy or he's a genius.
Well, they're very similar afflictions, Sheriff.
Are you a very courageous person, Miss Godfrey?
Well, I hope so.
I hope so, too. Because catching the murderer is going to depend entirely upon your courage.
How?
Well, when you go to bed tonight, I want you to leave your windows open, turn off the lights, and lie awake until 1:15 in the morning. Then I want you to close your eyes and pretend to go to sleep. Chances are that sometime after 1:15, the murderer will enter your room and try to kill you. But no matter what happens, you mustn't open your eyes until you hear my voice. Can I depend on you?
Sure. If I can depend on you.
All right, Sheriff, now! David, come up. I arrest you for the murders of John Marco, George Munn, Leslie Court, and Laura Constable, and the attempted murder of Stella Godfrey.
And I wouldn't waste any sympathy on someone who would have killed you all.
But surely, if he is insane...
He was sane when he planned the murders. Months of brooding over them unsettled his mind.
Well, we packed him off to the station. That guy sure is a raving maniac.
And most maniacs have optical aberrations, such as black spots in front of the eyes. You thought I was joking, but I knew these murders were the work of a madman.
What I can't figure is why David should want to murder any of us.
To be the sole heir to your Aunt Sophia's estate. Marco came down here to trick the others out of the fortune. Cummer took a more direct method.
Then he arranged the kidnapping to build up an alibi.
Tuesday morning, Cummer swam ashore from the Weaver boat and killed Marco. He expected to swim right back to the boat, but Joram's appearance on the scene compelled him to hide.
But why didn't he kill Joram?
He only wanted to kill the heirs to the estate. While Joram stayed at the pavilion, the tide receded so far that Cummer was afraid his footprints on the wet beach would draw suspicion away from the people at the house. But he was afraid that a man walking along the street in bathing trunks at 1 o'clock in the morning would attract attention. That's why he changed clothes with Marco. He got back to the boat, and the next day he swam ashore again at high tide. He climbed up through the bushes and got into the house. He killed Munn and dressed him in bathing trunks to bewilder the police. Poor Court was probably killed because he came upon Cummer unexpectedly.
You mean to say he was in the house all day yesterday?
Suppose he had been discovered. He could say that he had just escaped from the kidnappers and swam ashore. Sometime during the night, Comer planted the notes that would bring Stella and Mrs. Constable to the cliff.
How about Mrs. Constable?
Comer hid in the bushes until Stella appeared on the scene. Then he threw a rock, hitting Mrs. Constable in the back, making her lose her balance.
Oh, I see. Then after we carried her body up, he swam back to the boat.
He had timed things so well that it was high tide again. You see, Comer expected to get Stella out of the way by having her accused of the murder of Mrs. Constable. I felt sure that he'd come ashore tonight at high tide to see if Stella was gone and probably perpetrate a few more murders.
Just one more thing. How did the kidnapper get by the dogs?
Your uncle brought him through before he took you to the pavilion.
I don't know how we ever can thank you, Mr. Queen.
Well, don't thank me. Thank Stella. It was her courage that made the capture possible.
Courage? I fainted as soon as I heard a noise at the window. In fact, I didn't come to until I heard your voice.
I've got to hand it to you, Mr. Queen. You sure did your stuff. Too bad I couldn't have pulled it off. It would have made my re-election a certainty. What's going on?
Oh, this reporter guy got by me. Even the dogs couldn't stop him.
I said I'd get the seat out of my pants for a story. And I did.
Well, it's about time to call the reporters in.
You mean you've caught the murder?
Yes, but all the credit goes to Sheriff Moley. It was the most brilliant piece of deduction I have ever seen. But let the sheriff tell you about it himself.
Come with me, Sonny. I'll tell you how I put it over. You see, I knew from the start that it was a guy with black spots in front of his eyes.
You don't mean it.
Sure I do. Then I figured out about the tides, and the whole thing was in the bag.
Oh, wonderful. Gee, that's great.
You're not such a clever detective. Or you'd be able to deduce what I'm thinking,
You want me to?
if you can.